guys, this is the Retro Flora podcast. I'm Brenda.
And I'm Charmy, and we're just two crazy sisters with an opinion and a channel.
If you like true crime, conspiracies, and supernatural shit, then this is your channel. So you guys, this week is a true crime. And this week's case is kind of piggyback from last week's, not conspiracy, paranormal, supernatural, whatever you want to call it.
Freaky fettuccine.
Anyway, so today's case is going to be about Payton Leutner. And Payton Leutner's case is the case of the two friends of hers who stabbed her to sacrifice her to Slender Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're going to hop into this case. It's kind of messed up.
I just know this case is going to give me trust issues.
Yeah, this case is wild. All right, well, let's just jump right in. Payton, Morgan, and Anissa were your typical best friend trio until Morgan's obsession with Slender Man took a dark turn. Payton Leutner was born February 13, 2002 in Wisconsin to parents Stacy and Joe Leutner. Payton loved animals and was described as a sweet and empathetic girl. Morgan Geyser was born May 16, 2002 in Wisconsin to parents Matt and Angie Geyser. Morgan was smart and a wild child. She had a traumatic childhood. Her father had schizophrenia and was hospitalized a lot, which put a strain on the family. Morgan's mom was busy a lot of the time, which kind of caused Morgan to spend a lot of time on the internet. Morgan was 9 or 10 years old when she started looking at scary stories and pics. She would become obsessed with suicide and scary things. That's crazy, because she's 9.
Yeah. I feel like we did that too, as when we were younger. Like, we went on the internet and saw all these, like, freaky stories and...
I can tell you right now, when I was 9, the internet was not a thing, so I wasn't doing that.
Well, for me, it was.
Morgan would go to school and tell her classmates about the scary things she saw. This caused the kids at school to not want to spend time with her. They began distancing themselves. Morgan didn't really have any friends and would be alone most of the time. Payton saw Morgan sitting alone one day at school, so she went over to her and introduced herself. The two hit it off. They became inseparable. The two were opposites in what they liked, but it was like an opposites attract. Morgan would show Payton the scary things she liked and the creepy pics she would draw. And she would write like really creepy messages on them. Like one of the messages says, "I love killing people."
Oh my god.
Yeah. But Payton didn't like that creepy stuff. Their duo will become a trio when they befriended a girl named Anissa Wire. Anissa was born November 10th, 2001 in Wisconsin to parents Bill and Christy Wire. Anissa lived in the same apartment building as Morgan. Morgan and Anissa liked the same things and grew closer over time. They both became obsessed with Slender Man. So if you guys watched our last video, you know who Slender Man is. He's like this super tall, creepy, pale-faced dude with tentacles that be like killing people and stealing children and stuff. If you want to know more, just watch the video. We have a video in our supernatural folder. So playlist. Sorry, what am I in like freaking like kindergarten over here talking about folders and stuff? Anissa and Morgan told Payton about Slender Man, and it frightened her. She was so terrified she told her mom about it, and she reassured her that he wasn't real. But the girls wouldn't stop talking about him, and Payton was getting nightmares and couldn't sleep at night. As time went by, the trio's friendship dynamics switched, and Morgan and Anissa grew closer while Payton started to distance herself, which really sucks because, like, it was...
They were friends first.
Yeah, so, like, you would think their bond would be stronger. On May 30th, 2014, Morgan was celebrating her 12th birthday with a sleepover. She invited her two best friends, and they went ice skating and for ice cream after. It was supposed to be a movie night and sleepover, but as soon as they arrived home, Morgan told them it was time to go to sleep. Payton assumed that Morgan was tired from the long day, so they all just went to sleep. In the morning, Payton woke up and Morgan and Anissa weren't there. She looked around the apartment and found them around the computer. They told her they woke up early and didn't want to wake her. They had breakfast and discussed their plans for the day. Morgan suggested they go to the park and hang out. Morgan's mom dropped the girls off at David's Park. Morgan suggested the girls play hide and seek in the woods. Morgan volunteered to count while Anissa and Payton went to hide. Anissa told Payton she had a good hiding spot. She told Payton to lay down on the leaves and she would cover her with the leaves and sticks, so Payton did. She couldn't see, but she could hear Anissa run off and Morgan stopped counting. The next thing Payton knew, somebody jumped on top of her and was holding her down. She could barely see, but it was Anissa holding her arms down. In the corner of Payton's eye, she could see Morgan grab her backpack and run and jump on her, weighing her down. Morgan leaned down and whispered in her ear, "I'm so sorry," before stabbing her best friend 19 times, while Anissa held her down. Morgan stabbed her all over with a 5-inch blade. After Morgan was done, they told Payton they would go get help, and then they both ran away.
That's insane.
I know, because like, girl, I do not believe you when you say you're gonna get help. You just stabbed me 19 times.
That's just so crazy.
I know, it really is, because she really did not see this coming. Like, we're playing hide and seek.
Yeah.
Girl.
I would be so scared.
Girl. All I have to say is Payton is such a strong person, because...
Yeah, she is.
Payton knew they were not coming back, and with 19 stab wounds, Payton miraculously got up and staggered her way through the woods using the trees to help her stay up. She made her way through the woods and to a path in the park before her body gave out. At that exact time, a cyclist came down the path. Payton managed to shout to the cyclist to get their attention and told them what happened. The cyclist called 911 and Payton was rushed to the hospital. At the hospital, Payton went into emergency surgery where they noticed that only 2 stab wounds were severe. The other 17 were not as deep. But the stab wound to her chest that grazed her aorta nearly almost killed her. Her second stab wound went through her liver, stomach, and diaphragm. Surprisingly, Payton survived, but her recovery was difficult. She had multiple tubes all over, and she couldn't talk because she had a tube in her mouth. After 7 days in the hospital, Payton was discharged. But before Payton could even tell the police who did it, the police already had Morgan and Anissa in custody, hours after the attack. After the attack, Morgan and Anissa walked out of the woods and walked for 5 miles. They were eventually found near Interstate 94 and covered in blood. Police found Morgan's backpack with a blood-soaked knife. Morgan and Anissa were arrested and taken to the police station. So I was reading that it's supposedly like the reason they were walking for like so many miles is because they were trying to walk to this like specific forest where supposedly Slender Man lived, and they wanted to go to him and, you know, be like, look, we sacrificed our friend.
That is so...
Yeah,
it just like shows how impressionable kids are.
Yeah, because, you know, adults, no, I'm not even gonna say that because there are some adults who,
yeah.
But for the majority of your adults, don't do this stuff. But yeah, I mean, they're 12, so it's not an excuse, but it's like you kind of like get like, okay, they're having a hard time like with reality and fiction. Yeah. Both girls confess. I think it was because they were scared that they confessed, because they're like 12 and they see police officers and it's just like, okay, I did it. The police asked them why they did this to Payton, and the girls told them she was a sacrifice to Slender Man. They told the police that Slender Man had servants called proxies who went out and murdered for him. You know what's crazy? When I was doing research on Slender Man, I didn't see anything about proxies for him. So that's why when I was doing research on this case, I was like, huh.
Like, when did he start asking for volunteers?
Apparently he wants you to murder for him.
To see him.
He's super tired of doing all the murdering himself. So he said he needed accomplices. They told the police that one day they both decided they wanted to be proxies. So they agreed to sacrifice Payton. It was Morgan who told Anissa it would be Payton. They told the police it was Slender Man's law that once a proxy sacrifices someone, they could get to live with Slender Man in the woods in a big mansion, and he would spare you. They believed Slender Man was going to kill them and their families. They said it wasn't their first time trying to kill Payton.
What? First of all, where did this mansion come from?
Slender Man got money, y'all. Apparently he got a mansion in the woods. And you could just be there with him. I don't know what he do at the mansion. This is wild.
This is so crazy.
I mean, I get it. They're like, oh my god, if we get Slender Man on our good side, he won't kill us. But it's like, girl, no.
When were you on his bad side? Like,
I don't know. Apparently he wanted to kill them and their families. I don't know who told them that, but he told them that, I guess. I don't know. They planned in advance that the night of the sleepover, they were going to wait for Payton to fall asleep, which is why Morgan said she wanted to go straight to sleep, tape her mouth, and slash her throat. But they got cold feet, So they made a new plan to wake up and go to the park to kill her there, because it was easier for them to run away from the scene. So that morning, Morgan and Anissa packed a kitchen knife in the backpack. They planned to kill Payton in the park bathroom by knocking her out with a rock and dragging her into the stall so they could stab her to death. But when they threw a rock at her, it didn't knock her out, so they decided to go with plan B, which was the hide and seek plan.
I think that's plan C.
Okay, well, it is, but technically it's plan B for them because this is the new plan they didn't count the day before. But I'm sorry, y'all threw a rock at her and thought it was just gonna knock her out? Yeah, that's how you know a 12-year-old made this plan, because just because you throw a rock at somebody, that's not gonna knock them out. And also, I'm wondering what Payton thought when like they threw a rock at her and then they just were like, never mind.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, sorry that we threw that rock at you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the girls told the police they didn't want to kill Payton, but they had to, or else Slender Man would kill them. The police asked them what did they think would happen after they killed her. And the girls said that they were more scared of Slender Man than going to jail.
That's just kids' minds right there.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're thinking like, well, at least if I'm in jail, Slender Man won't try to kill me. But like,
what?
You have
he can slender walk, remember?
Yeah, but they're thinking like if Payton was sacrificed, then they're off the list. So apparently they were on the list. I don't know what Slender Man's list is. I didn't see no list when I was researching him, but okay. Police came to the conclusion that Morgan was the mastermind behind the plan. Morgan showed no guilt, while Anissa was sorry about trying to kill Payton. On Morgan's computer, the police found a search that said, how to get away with murdering somebody.
Which is so weird, because it was Morgan who was friends with her first, right? With Payton. And it was Morgan, the one that had no remorse.
Yeah.
Like, you know her the longest.
It's weird, because I was like reading about Morgan, like how she was reacting. And the police were like, she was like, is she dead? And they're just like, no. And she's just like, she tells them, I thought I would care about stabbing her, but I don't feel guilty. And then like in one of the like clips of her interview, like when she was in police custody and there was nobody in the room, she was like dancing.
What?
Yeah, so it was kind of like, girl, like, it's you. And then Morgan was trying to say
must be something's wrong with her psychologically.
She kept trying to say it was Anissa, and they were just like, girl, no, we know
Anissa's the one who looks sad about it.
Yeah, we know it was you. Like, yeah, she really tried to play them. Both girls were tried as adults. Both girls were given a psych evaluation, and both of them had mental illnesses. Anissa was diagnosed with PTSD, major depression, personality disorder, and delusional disorder. Morgan was diagnosed with early onset schizophrenia, so she really was seeing Slender Man. Like, her hallucinations and her delusions were actually Slender Man.
Oh, because usually like schizophrenia happens like, you know, in your 20s.
Yeah, she had early onset.
Dang.
Yeah, so all the stuff, like, I get why she was freaking out, because she really was seeing him.
Do you think it was like her mental state was exacerbated because she was always alone and she only had the internet?
I think that being on the internet and like looking into like all that scary stuff definitely played a huge part in it.
Okay.
Yeah. They both entered a plea of not guilty by reasons of mental disease or defect. Anissa took a plea deal and pled guilty to a lesser charge of attempted second-degree intentional homicide. As part of her plea deal, a jury would hear her insanity defense and decide if she would go to prison or to a state mental institution. The jury found her not guilty, and she was sentenced to 25 years in a state institution. Morgan also took a plea deal and pled guilty to attempted first-degree homicide. And she was sentenced to 40 years in a state institutional.
Do you think it was right to charge them as adults?
I know every case is different, and for this case, I'm gonna say no, because they clearly had mental illness. Like, especially Morgan, like, as much as everybody's like, people use mental illness as the like excuse.
She really did.
Had delusions. She really thought she was seeing Slender Man, so everything she's reading is real to her because she's seeing him.
And she has family history of it, so you know it's not like a lie. It's a possibility that she does have it.
And, you know, it's not, I'm not even going to say her mom neglected her, because I really don't feel like her mom was neglecting her. I feel like her mom was doing everything she could to provide for her. Like provide for her in a physical way that she wasn't really providing for her in a mental way. but it really wasn't because she was neglectful. It was because she was working. Like, her husband was sent to a mental institution, and it really did put a strain on their family.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of, like, nurture and nature involved in this case, and that's why I don't think that they should be charged as adults.
They weren't in a sound mind.
They weren't.
When they did those decisions.
And Anissa was really, like, she had issues too, and she was more that friend who kind of just went along and followed. So it was, if Anissa didn't meet Morgan, I really don't think she would have done anything like that. But I think Morgan was so convincing, and she wanted to be her friend, that she was just like, if Morgan is down, I'm down. But I also looked up to see, like, what the creator of Slender Man had to say about this, and he said, "I'm deeply saddened by the tragedy in Wisconsin, and my heart goes out to the families and all of those affected by this terrible act." I think he felt really bad about.
Yeah, even though he didn't mean to.
Yeah, and he's not at fault at all. But especially since he had repeatedly says that Slender Man is not real. So that just sucks to know that your creation, like, kind of influenced people to do something, like, terrible.
That's why you have to be very careful what you put out there.
You really do.
Because you don't know how someone else is going to interpret it and how they're going to take it.
But not even just that. As a parent, you have to be very careful about what your child can access.
Yeah.
And I actually read that there were a couple of copycat attempted killings, or actually I think there might have been a killing on this too. So it's just sad.
It really is.
Because you're going to have people who copycat. Payton suffered a lot mentally after the attack. She suffered from breakdowns, panic attacks, and nightmares. She was paranoid and didn't trust anybody.
I would be the same way.
Yeah. She even struggled to make friends and to be in social settings. She even slept with scissors underneath her pillow. Like,
oh my god. I just feel so bad for her.
I do too. I really do. Because she did nothing wrong. Like, I also read that Anissa was released September 13th, 2021.
So 2 years ago.
And that Morgan withdrew her request for early release because she kept getting... Well, I don't know if that's why she did, but she did keep getting denied.
Oh, okay. I thought you said she was getting death threats.
No, she was getting denied release. Although the judge was saying that he didn't think that she was a danger to anybody now that she was medicated and everything like that.
Yeah.
Apparently they didn't think that enough because they kept denying it, and now she's, like, not trying to do it as of now.
Is there a time release for her? Like, she keeps
in 40 years.
40? Oh,
yeah.
dang.
So 40 years from 2014. So let's see the math for that because I don't know what it is. Let me add it. Okay, so she's getting out in 2054.
Yeah. Okay.
Dang, how old would she be? If she was 12 when this happened, but she might not have been 12 when she was sentenced. Whatever, we'll just say 12 when this happened. Plus 40. She will be 52 years old, maybe older than that.
Dang.
Oh, duh. I don't know why we needed to do math for that. 40 plus 12, we couldn't do that.
Excuse us, we had a dumb moment.
So what do you think about this case?
I think it's very sad.
Yeah, this case really gives me trust issues. Because literally Payton knew Morgan for a good amount of time, and this still happened. But I mean, and I know we have to take into consideration that Morgan's
her mental
health.
State.
But it's like with this, you as a kid you couldn't tell if someone's mental state was messed up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Payton was so empathetic and such a sweet person that she even, like, with Morgan being different from everybody else, she still accepted her
and saw her out and
as her equal, and she still wanted to befriend her. And for that, I say, Payton, you go, girl, because you are really strong. Even to this day, she's really strong. She does interviews and everything like that, and I'm really proud of her. Well, you've made it to the end.
You must really like the sounds of our high-pitched voices and quirky commentary.
You might as well like and subscribe to our channel and hit that bell to be notified every time we drop new content. If you want to follow our social medias, they will be linked in the description box below.
Bye!
See you guys later!